Hey everybody, what's going on? Another Saturday morning roundtable with Farbod and Scott. Scott, what's going on late in the evening there in Thailand, huh?
Not much. Great Saturday, great weather. Loving it.
Uh, we're going to be hearing great weather from you pretty often. I have a feeling, unless it's
Yeah.
getting those rains a little bit. And you're going to stay up and watch a little bit of the UCLA Indiana game, I suppose.
Yeah, it comes on about an hour from now, so I'll probably see how long UCLA can compete with them. Fingers crossed.
And Farbod, I don't know if I've asked you before. Out there in Florida, are you you're a Heat fan, correct?
Yes, I am.
And I just checked before we started recording. They put up like 146 points or something like that. That's
Yeah, I
crazy.
think it was retribution for the stuff with Scary Terry that came out, Terry Rozier, with the betting and the FBI.
Oh, geez. We're gonna have to talk about that sometime. And
Yeah,
I don't feel comfortable talking about it right now because I haven't really dove into it. But yeah, that's not a good look. And then
the
of course
mob's
Earl
involved
Benign.
too, man. It's wild. It's a deep dive. It's something.
Yeah, I read some of it. If it's true, if you were betting on some of those games back in the day, even if guys like us drop $100 on a game or something,
Mhm.
and then to find out this, yeah, that's pretty disturbing. But
I
we'll
mean,
save that for another day.
it's
Really
rough.
bad look for the NBA.
Very. Yeah.
So we're going to go through a bunch of things, on the Rams bye week. We're not going to talk about the Rams Saints yet. But let's get into some topics here. Final thoughts on the Rams Jags. Scott, I'll let you kick it off. What were your takeaways from this overall pretty impressive win?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit. I'll try to keep it short, both offense and defense. My first take is I think that was the most efficient offensive performance of McVay's era. Stafford, 5 TD passes on only 21 completions and only 182 yards. That's like a touchdown pass every four and a half throws. That is just unbelievable. Um, Moving to the defense, they held the Jaguars to only 3 of 15 third down conversions. Fourth down, only 2 of 6 on fourth down, and when they were in the red zone, 0 for 2. Pass coverage, 8 pass breakups. Williams had 4, Quentin Lake had 2, Cameron Curl had 1, along with Jalen McCullough, and they got after the quarterback. They sacked him 7 times. And the last thought was, I think it was a Rams record. They targeted the tight ends 14 times for 8 completions. I think that's a Rams record.
Yeah, and they were running a lot of 13 personnel as well,
Yeah.
which you think might lend itself to running the ball, but I think it was a mix of running and passing with that personnel group.
Yeah.
How about you, Farbod? Any last comments on
Sure.
the win against the Jags in London?
Absolutely. Well, Mark, first off, I just want to say I think my predictions each week, I should just predict it to be a close game every week, because the one time I predict a close game with the Rams and Jags, it's a blowout. So, okay, I'm going to just start doing that going forward. It's going to be a 2-3 point difference. Sure.
Mhm.
That's where I want to start with. But yeah, you touched on it, Mark. Yeah. So, we all knew Puka was missing this game. So what did we think was going to happen, right? We thought it was just going to be more or less the same offense, maybe. Devontae replacing Puka in that role, maybe Jordan Whittington stepping up in that role. That's what we as Rams fans envisioned. Maybe sprinkle in a little more 12 personnel. What happens instead? Kudos, hats off, round of applause for McVay and his creative play calling. He finally got it back together. He finally looked like the early McVay, you could argue, even a lot of creative play call, not just honing in on one player. And yes, not 11 personnel, not 12, 13 personnel, almost 40% of the plays. Wow. Where was that all season? Where has that been the last 3-4 years? Incredible. And exactly, Mark, you said you have those jumbo formations. You think it's going to just be run heavy, run heavy, run heavy. No, but that's the beauty of having these tight ends we have out there. When you have a Davis Allen, when you have a Terrence Ferguson, not so much Colby Parkinson, but he got his share too. And, it was a beautiful thing to see. I was so glad to see Terrence get his first tutty, and what a tutty that was. Woo! What a dime by Stafford. Terrence created separation. It was a beautiful play action. Wasn't just constantly third or fourth and short, A gap, run up the middle, stuffed, it was nice creative play calling. And boy, was that refreshing to see. And now I'm just so curious, what is it now going to look like when Puka comes back against the Saints that we expect? Is it going to is it going to revert back to how it was, where it's just Puka, 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 Puka? Has McVay opened his mind a little bit and said, man, we got all these players now. Is it really going to be a true blessing in disguise that, yes, now we can actually target more than just Puka? Whoa, I'm excited.
Yeah, if nothing else, it demonstrates that the Rams, except for maybe one player, they can win without some of these guys. And what I thought was really cool about it is I'm starting to get a better feeling about guys like Warren McClendon, Josiah Stewart continues to make plays, Terrence Ferguson, Mumfield, a lot of guys, kind of showing their wares. And some guys that we didn't quite know about. We maybe had a little reservation about whether they were going to be, productive players in the NFL. And yeah, so it was a nice win. And yeah, that is the question. When Puka comes back, is it going to be back to the old Puka show, which is fine. But
one last thought on that.
Sure.
I think on social media, people really went off, the people that were, condemning McVay the last few weeks for being so predictable. I thought, oh, wow, he really figured it out. Well, I think people have to, take a look at who the opponent was and how bad their pass defense was. And I think the best thing McVay did is he just kept throwing the ball because they couldn't stop it. So would it really mattered whether they targeted the tight ends as much as they did, or whether it was the wide receivers? So to me, it's like the next game will be a completely different situation. So I think he targeted the pass game to a defense that wasn't very good, told them to stop it, and they couldn't do it. So that's kind of the way I see it.
And we know, Scott, that, Sean McVay's nickname is what? Sean McPass. So, yeah, he's drooling. He's like, yes, this defense can't stop the pass. I can finally throw the ball every play. But the real question is, what if we play another team that we saw in the past that's not good at stopping the run? Are we going to stick to the run game when it's being effective, or again stick to that? It's going to be curious to see. But great point. Absolutely.
Let's move on to the next subject here. It's a good time to take a look at our 2025 draft picks, and we'll just run through these real quick and see how we feel about them. I guess Terrence Ferguson, it's still incomplete, but man, he's had a couple catches. He's had a nice TD grab. The Rams are at least look like they're willing to get him involved. I don't know if I give a grade on Terrence Ferguson yet, but I'm feeling good about him. You agree, Farbod?
I would give him a grade. I'd give him an A-. And only an A-, not an A+, because he didn't turn that, jet sweep into a tutty or do anything with it, really. That's why he gets the minus for the A. But, brother, every time he's been called upon, in the pass game at least, he's caught it. I mean, he's looked great, especially after this last. I think it's just, we're going to start seeing him get phased more and more and more in the offense like we've been seeing. And, I think I said this a few weeks ago, let's see what a Terrence Ferguson's going to look like in the Rams offense week 14. With this trajectory he's on, let him get a deep shot every game, because he's just, correct me if I'm wrong, was he not the fastest tight end in the draft? So let's utilize that, I'm excited for him.
Yeah, I think he may have a blow up game coming here soon where he, has a, really, a big time performance. I think it's coming. How about you, Scott? You going to give Terrence Ferguson a grade here?
I'm in the incomplete category with Ferguson. When an offense gets around 65 snaps a game and you've played 7 games, that's about 420 snaps. I don't think people realize he's only been in on 12 to 14 snaps of all those
Look what he's done with those snaps, though, Scott. It's something to consider.
Yeah, to me, that's just, it's too small. Yeah, he's done well. It's just, I'm the one that would stay away from grading at this point. I'm excited to see him in the game. I want to see him play more, but I'm not the type that would sit back and try to put a grade on him at this point. Same thing with Hunter, the running back.
Yeah, and when I grade, I consider the draft position. Obviously, if Terrence Ferguson was a fifth or sixth round pick, I'd probably give him an A. The fact that he was a 46 overall player, that's where I'm kind of hedging a little bit, hesitant to give him a high grade. But I don't oppose the draft pick at this time. It looks like it was. I think he's going to develop into a solid player. And Josiah Stewart. He really flashes a lot for a third round pick, number 90 overall. And I think if it weren't for Byron Young and Jared Verse, Stewart would probably be racking up some numbers. He's not getting a ton of snaps and still being very productive. I'd probably give Josiah Stewart, considering he's a third round pick and he is, an impactful player. I'd probably give him a B plus at this point. How about you, Scott?
Right with you on that one. I got him a B plus at this point.
And by the way, I'm grading more the draft pick as opposed to the player. That's
I see.
how I'm. But it kind of the same deal, right? How about you, Farbod? Where you ranking Stewart?
Actually, the same thing as you guys. B plus. He's looked good. He's just not getting a lot of opportunities. What he could probably still improve on is, arguably the most difficult thing coming into the NFL from college is setting that edge. Can he be relied upon to be more of an edge setter during maybe rundowns? Probably, maybe not, because he's a little undersized. But yeah, I'd like to see him get more pass rushes during those pass plays for sure. He's been great so far, absolutely.
And Farbod, kick off the Jarquez Hunter assessment here.
Yeah, Scott kind of touched on it. Incomplete. How could we rate the guy? I mean, he hasn't seen the field, which I guess you would give him a low grade based off draft position, just because, damn, he hasn't even seen the field yet. We got reliable Ronnie coming up from the practice squad before our fourth round draft pick. That says something there. But, future's still bright for him. We were excited we got him for a reason. So, I guess incomplete or a low grade. I don't want to. I feel bad giving it a bad grade just because, again, he hasn't seen the field, but maybe that is a reason to give him a bad grade. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it was a little troubling to me that they deactivated him and brought Ronnie Rivers up. But yeah, it's got to be an incomplete. And, the fact that, Kyron and Blake have been healthy for the most part. And so we haven't needed him. And I don't know what the plan for him was in the first place. Is he going to be a change of pace? Is he just insurance if someone gets hurt? Is he a long-term? Are they playing the long game with him if they don't bring someone back and then they extend Kyron? So I don't know what's going on with him. You got anything more to say about Jarquez, Scott?
Just that, grading him, it's so hard because knowing the head coach is the way he likes, as far as the running back position, we know that he likes to go with the guy he trusts. And right now that's Williams. But mid-season, he says, I'm really trying to change my outlook on the offense and seeing kind of what the way the what's the Florida team when they used the kid from Oregon, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. After watching a lot what Brooks did for them as a rookie, McVay said, we need more big plays and we need more explosive plays out of that position. And I think they looked at Hunter and said, hey, he's got some of the biggest most explosive plays as a running back in college. And so they drafted him. But then again, he only plays the guy that he's really comfortable with. So at what point is Hunter going to get an opportunity to get in there and prove his worth? I don't know. Is it 3 seasons from now? Maybe.
Yeah. But you're talking about Bucky Irvin, I think. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, Bucky Irvin. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And the Rams, Kyron Williams barely played his rookie year. Blake Corum played very little, really, his rookie year.
Yeah.
So maybe Hunter's time. Maybe it's next year. We'll see. Now, Scott, kick off the Ty Hamilton. By the way, I would admit Jarquez Hunter, round 4 at the 117th pick overall. And next up, defensive tackle Ty Hamilton, round 5, number 148. Remember, we're talking about a 5th-round pick. How you feeling about Ty Hamilton so far, Scott?
I feel really confident with him. He's getting, it seems to, he's getting about 7 or 8 snaps a game. And when he's in there, I think the run defense is solid. He's holding ground, and I'd give him a B+.
Farbod?
Yeah. Yeah, more or less the same. Exactly, Scott. Yeah, I'll give him a B. I mean, he hasn't been, eye-shattering or jaw-dropping, but, he's a 5th-round pick, so you can't expect too much, even though Puka was one too. Oh, well. But, yeah, he's done solid. He's a solid guy. We got him to be a big clog in the middle, run stopper, and he's doing that for us more or less. So, yeah, solid B. Good job, Ty.
Yeah, he seems to be. He's part of the rotation, and that's that's what you would hope for a rookie 5th-round draft pick. And next up, I don't know how much time we spend on this. Linebacker Chris Paul, round 5, number 172. He's on. We'll talk about him a little bit later as well, but he's on the Seahawks practice squad. So obviously he's not at this point NFL ready. And the Rams, you can miss some. I give them credit for moving off of him as quickly as they did. If he just wasn't a fit, I don't know what the deal with him is exactly. But I don't know. I guess we give the pick. We're talking about a round 5 pick. The draft pick, you got to give them a D or an F. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know what else we can say about Chris Paul. Either of you have anything to add?
I don't. I mean, it was surprising he lasted as long as he did, and I guess maybe there was a reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, D or F is probably the correct grade there, just because you didn't even make the team. I mean, how else could you give it a better grade than that? It's really unfortunate. I was kind of low-key excited about yelling "poo" when he made a big play during games. I was gearing up for that mentally, but that unfortunately never happened. But hopefully he gets it together, and ideally not on the Seahawks, even though,
I always wonder how that goes down in the scouting meetings after this. Where was there some scout pounding his fist on the table for Pooh Paul? Was there a scout pounding his fist on the table for Logan Bruss? And then they show up for their next meeting, or maybe they don't show up. Some awkward situations there probably. Now Mumpfield, round 7, number 242 overall, and I got to also kick this one off. Very low production, obviously at this point, but a stacked wide receiver room, has a touchdown catch. I would give the draft pick maybe an A at this point. Remember, we're talking round 7, and the player, B plus. Like what I see so far, it's not a lot that we've seen, but he looked pretty slick on that touchdown catch. That's for sure. How about you, Farbod? You got an opinion on the Mumpfield draft pick and how he's panned out so far?
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of everything you just said, Mark. I'll give him an A. I mean, like you mentioned, it's a stacked wide receiver room. We did not expect him to get many, if any, slaps during games if everyone's healthy. Let's be honest. It took a Puka injury for him to get a little bit more of a target. And, one of his targets was an amazing touchdown grab. I mean, he snatched that thing. It was a beautiful route, beautiful catch. And kudos to him. He really displayed his route running in hands. So exactly, a 7th-round pick. Woo, love that. So it's gonna be nice to see him get more in the mix maybe in the future. And it's just so great having that kind of depth at any position. But receiver, where injuries do happen quite often, it's such an active position that if someone goes down or has to miss some times in a game, looks like we're just fine if Konate has to go in there, Mumpfield. So it's definitely an A at least for sure.
How about you, Scott? Thoughts on Mumpfield?
Pretty positive. I think if I used your logic, I would probably also go with an A. I was giving him a B for performance. But I think the most impressive thing is he came through training camp. And I don't know if you recall, he did catch a touchdown pass from Bennett on almost the same exact play in preseason. And it's great that he was prepared enough in order to make the opening day, the 53, And he actually played from day one against the Texans. I mean, he got a handful of plays in just about every game, handful of snaps. So for him to be prepared and for them to feel confident enough in him to play him in every game so far, I think that's I think he's a player. I'm pretty proud of what he's done as a rookie so far.
Yeah, I think the draft. I remember the draft profile on him. I think it was Nate Davis, if I'm not mistaken. One of the uh, beat reporters from one of the networks said that he was a NFL ready wide receiver, and that appears to be the case. And something to consider about Mumpfield is a player that I've been waiting to really emerge, and it really hasn't happened. Is Jordan Whittington, and maybe Mumfield is elevating himself above Whittington sometime soon, but not predicting that. But I'm just saying, just pointing out the production from Whittington. And a lot of times it's not necessarily the player's fault in this offense. It's the quarterback and the play calling, right? But
Yeah.
Mumfield on the road to on the right track to be a productive NFL wide receiver for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't want to spend a bunch of time on this position group grades. We'll go through these pretty quickly. The quarterback position, I'm given, it's basically we're talking about Matthew Stafford, and I forget what I gave my grades I gave out the other day, but the quarterback position, I got to give him an A. It would be an A plus, but he's been a little erratic at times with some high passes. Any disagreement there, Farbod? How you feeling? You giving Matthew Stafford?
Solid A for those exact reasons. I mean, the 5 touchdowns last week was fantastic. Love to see more of that. But yeah, and it's usually, if you guys notice, early in the game. I mean, when are we going to see Stafford just come in and just be hot, not overthrow, not throw behind, not throw too forward, And for that reason, yeah, I mean, it's not he hasn't done poorly. Don't get me wrong, but it could definitely be better, which is very exciting to hear. But
yeah, right. Yeah, it seems like he thinks Devontae Adams is 7'6". If Devontae Adams was 7'6", he maybe wouldn't have an incompletion all year. You agree, Scott? An A for Matthew Stafford?
Yeah, an A. I think if he had been more consistent, like if he hadn't missed a couple of those throws against the Eagles, I think we would have had the Eagles blown out in the first half, and they would not have been able to mount a comeback and actually beat the Rams in that loss. And I think a couple of those misses in the end zone against the Eagles, I mean, that's a big deal. So yeah, if it wasn't for some of those early game misses, I'd give him an A plus. But he's having right now he's on pace to have a career season, an MVP type. So I think it's a solid A across the board.
Yeah, I'm guessing. I haven't looked, but I'm guessing that the percentage of fantasy football teams that have Matthew Stafford on the roster are maybe at a career high right now.
Yeah.
And I think I had him and dropped him, but oh well. So Scott, kick off the running back grade. How you feeling about the running backs? What grade do you give them?
I'm a mixed bag. I just don't see as the production as much as well as last year, and countering a couple of the dropsies, I'd have to give them a C plus.
How about you, Farbod?
Yeah, similar route there. I go with just a C, just between those drops you mentioned, Scott, the fumbles, and maybe if we incorporated a little bit more of that pistol formation, then maybe we would see a better run game, because we had success. I believe it was 23. We would use that the most, and we got some solid 5, 6, 7, 8 yard gains minimum from those runs. So maybe we'll see a little bit more of that in the run game. We'll get a spark. But yeah, exactly. I haven't seen any explosive plays between the drops, the fumbles. A solid C for me.
Yeah, I gave him a B minus. I think the yards per carry is respectable. Just no explosiveness really. I talked about it the other day. I think the longest run for Williams is 20 yards and Blake is 15 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And of course, a couple of key fumbles, one really big fumble. Farbod, wide receivers, what grade you giving our wide receivers here at the bye week?
I mean, I'll go A. I'll go A. It's not like, I mean, yeah, we've seen some drop balls. Don't get me wrong. It hasn't been like 100% perfect. I'm not throwing an A plus necessarily, but we just kind of talked about our 7th-round pick receiver running a great route and getting a great touchdown. That's a 7th-round receiver. And of course, the year that Puka was having before he got hurt, I mean, look, he can still have an excellent season. He's only missing 1 game here, hopefully. So between Puka's amazing year he's having, Devontae's 3-touchdown game he just had, yeah, there's still room to grow in that room for sure. But I'm not disappointed in the wide receivers at all. No.
How about you, Scott?
I went with a B plus.
Yeah, I'm thinking A minus. I mean, Puka having a monster year, pushes it up. Some of the other wide receivers haven't really contributed until last week. Devontae's had a couple of drops. But again, with McVay's play calling, you can't really ding. How much can you ding Tutu Atwell for lack of production, or Jordan Whittington? I'm not sure.
I guess I should maybe temper my thoughts with that by saying I think that the grade is kind of being affected by the coach's play calling and the quarterback's how would you say,
All places.
Preference for certain wide receivers?
It's for certain players. I mean, there's certain plays where, you go back and you see a replay and Devontae Adams is wide open and he didn't get the target, or Tutu was wide open and he didn't get the pass. So I think they're unfortunately, with my grade, they're unfortunately being dinged for that. So
yeah, no, fair enough. Tight ends, Scott, kick it off. Tight ends, what grade you giving our 4 tight ends? Hey, Ram fans, just a reminder, we have teamed up with MyBookie. Go to their website and use our promo code RAMSUP, and you get up to $500 in bets fully covered first time out. That is mybookie.website/joinwithRamsUp, promo code RAMSUP. And, I've been doing really well taking these teams in the NFL that are like 6.5, 7-point underdogs. And this week, another one jumped out at me. That is Browns +7. Now they're on the road against a good team, the Patriots. But this Browns defense is one of the best in the league, and I think they'll keep it close, make it a low-scoring game. And, hey, it's too late for this one, but the Bruins, UCLA Bruins, on the road against Indiana, suddenly the powerhouse Indiana Hoosiers, but they're getting 26.5 points. Now, I may have already lost this one by the time you hear it, but on the record for liking that point spread and taking the road Bruins. And, hey, Dodgers, let's take the money line on them, just because I'm never going to call this a must-win game. Second game of the World Series on the road, you're already down 1-0, but I think this Dodger team will come through. But this Blue Jays offense is very impressive. But MyBookie website /join with RamsUp, promo code RamsUp, and bet responsibly. But if you're going to bet, can't beat this deal.
I think overall I have to give them an A for support in the run game and pass catching. And I think this is one where they're probably, there's a little bit of an advantage for McVay maybe sticking with and adding more targets to them, over the first 7 games. So I'm feeling pretty strong about that group.
Farbod?
Yeah, I'll go B+, just because I feel like there is a little bit of room to grow with Terrence, I guess, specifically with the run blocking. Because if he could get that down as well as a Tyler Higbee or Kobe or maybe even a Davis Allen, then he's going to be out there for sure much more. And the more he's out there, the more exciting our offense is going to be at the end of the day, because he has that big play explosivity, that big play potential. And we saw a glimpse of that against the Jaguars. So I'll give it a B or maybe B+, just because, there is a little bit of room to grow in that. But overall, they've been very solid, and they've all kind of stepped up in their own way, in the pass catching especially. So, yeah.
I give him a B plus. Tyler has had some big plays. He's also had a couple drops. Parkinson had that big fumble after the catch, although at the time I didn't ding him that much because, you catch a ball, take 2 steps, and someone plants a helmet on the ball.
Yeah,
It's easy in our.
I think any tight end would have fumbled that.
I know. And the thing about Davis Allen is, I was thinking about this as we are coming up on this topic. I don't know that Davis Allen has ever had a drop. He doesn't have a ton of catches, but when
I
he's been
know.
when he's been targeted, he squeezes the ball, uh, and he does his job. And I think that's why I picked him as a potential, player to watch last week against the Jags. And I think he had 1 catch, maybe 2. But I thought he's a guy that could be really effective in the passing game, and I saw him making some good blocks too. So Terrence Ferguson's probably upgrade from him, so it's probably going to be Terrence Ferguson's show. But
Mhm.
kind of feel bad for Davis Allen, much like some other past tight ends we've had that just never really get their opportunity. Offensive line. I don't know how much of our lack of explosiveness, being able to get to the second level in the run game is on the offensive line. But, Lyric Jackson, never hear his name called. That's a good thing.
Mhm.
Havenstein and then replaced by McClendon. They've been solid. Kevin Dotson's been solid. The interior on the left side, center and left guard, a little bit more questionable due to injuries. But I got to give the offense. They've kept Matthew Stafford really clean for the most part. I'm going to go with the B plus. Any disagreement there, Farbod?
No, not really. You kind of nailed it, Mark. I mean, it's great though the way that Warren's kind of elevated throughout the season. Where I wasn't necessarily thinking he was going to be the best replacement to Havenstein, but after these past few weeks, I think he's absolutely a capable right tackle starting in our offense. He's shown it time and time again now lately. So yeah, but like you said, the only kind of knock is Coleman does get kind of bodied a little bit by the bigger tackles at times, and that leads to pressure up the middle. And we saw that recently where unfortunately Stafford fumbled due to that, and so maybe that could be a little bit of a better, could get a little bit of a better grade, but overall solid group, not huge complaints. They've done a great job overall, so yeah, B plus, that's fine.
How about you, Scott?
I'm at a B plus. I think considering with McClendon having to step in for Havenstein and Avila missing the first couple of games, I think the performance overall, considering 2 out of 5 were out for a few games, I think is pretty spectacular for the amount of points. I think Rams are more consistent scoring than they were last season and the season before, and that's what I've been harping on the Rams is the inconsistencies that I've talked about the last few weeks. But I think the performance of the offensive line's been very consistent. I don't think they're giving up as much pressure in the middle, and I'll expand on that further when we go to the next subject.
Okay, let's see. Defensive line. I'm talking about the interior mostly here. Poona Ford, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk. It's been in a way a little bit of a quiet year for these guys, but that may have a lot to do with what the Rams are trying to do, and they just have these beasts on the outside. But the run defense has definitely improved over last year. So I'm going to give the defensive line. I'm going to go with a B plus. They got Tyler Davis and Ty Hamilton pitching in. It's a pretty good group, and maybe we'd like to see more interior pressure and sacks, but as long as they're not giving up 70-yard runs to guys like Barkley, going to give them at least a B, right? So I'm going to go with a B plus. How do you feel about that, Scott?
I've got him with an A. I think when the defensive coordinator Shula, I think when he puts the right personnel in the game to stop a run, they're doing it. As opposed to, I think what was the game against the the week before where I noted that the very first play of the game they only had Poona Ford and
Was that the Ravens?
yeah, against the Ravens, very first play of the game they only had Poona Ford and Fisk as down linemen, and they ran the ball for 7 or 8 yards on the very first play. coach, you got what you put in. But when they have Poona Ford and Tyler Davis and or Kobe Turner in there, and they put in, three tough guys in the middle, they're pretty much shutting down the run where they weren't last year. And you got people like Murchison getting sacks. You got Kobe Turner has almost 20 pressures quietly. I don't think people realize, he's quiet with sacks, but he's got a lot of pressures. And then Tyler Davis has a sack. And I think one of the other.
Laurel Murchison has had some cleanup sacks in a couple of
Yeah.
games where he's come up in garbage time, and none that still, he's going up against NFL offensive linemen and has made a couple big plays.
Yeah, so I say between both run defense and pass pressure, I think they're very stout. I think they're way above average. I give them an A.
Yeah, and Braden Fisk, a lot of people have been throwing a little bit of shade on him, like productivity, but someone pointed out that against the Jags, I think he led the team in quarterback pressures in that game, so he's still contributing. How about, what's your grade for Farbod for the defensive line?
I'll give them an A. They've done great, and we forget too. Braden did get injured a little bit, so I think as the season progresses, hopefully he's getting more and more healthy. And it's just those pressures. I mean, even if they're not accruing all these sacks like the edge guys are right now, as long as they're getting the pressures, who's to say that those pressures they're getting isn't the thing that's contributing to those sacks?
Exactly.
If the quarterback can't step up in the pocket to evade the edge guys, he's donezo. So I'll give him an A for sure. And like you said, Scott, that run game wow, what a difference it's been since last year. Last year we couldn't stop nobody, especially when we went against Saquon. What a difference these guys have made. I love to see it.
Yeah, just goes to show you how much depth the Rams have at almost all these position groups. It's really nice. Now, outside linebacker, we can probably roll through this in about 10 seconds. What's your grade for Farbod on the outside linebackers?
A++++. That's it.
Yeah. Scott, anything to add on that?
I go A-.
And what's holding you back from an A+ or an A?
They're getting.
They still give up some outside. They still lose.
Yeah, there are some. They're leaving money on the table. I think Verse is. I think he still's got a lot to learn. In certain run plays, there's sometimes, even though that Young is getting the sacks, there's sometimes he's running upfield, and or the opposite. He runs and tries to cut off and tries to take an inside lane for a run, and it goes to the outside. So I've noticed them. Their fundamentals could be better, but that's why I'm saying if it wasn't for the pass rush production, my grade would probably be lower.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'd go with an A. Now, middle linebacker, we're talking about Nate Landman, Omar Spates, a little bit of Troy Reeder, a little bit of Sean Dolak. And, they've done their job. I think there's been some games where they're maybe a little lacking in pass coverage. But I'd give them a solid, with Nate Landman there, I'm going to go A-. I could see a B+ because they're not necessarily, Spates. They're just not like high-flying, sideline to sideline type linebackers, but they are what they are. And they get the job done. They do what they need to do for this team. They know what their assignment is and they get it done. Scott, do you have any disagreement on the grade there?
No, I went with a B+. I think if Spates had a little bit more athleticism,
Right.
I'd probably definitely give him an A because they're so much more improved over the last season or two.
Yeah, and Dolak really excites me. I just wish we could see more of him. Maybe we will. How about you, Farbod?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, wow, what was it just last year that our inside linebackers were Troy Reeder and Chris Roseboom? Wow, what a difference it is. I'll give him an A just because of that. It's just so refreshing not seeing either of those guys out there. We got Landman absolutely crushing it. And we got Spates in there, who absolutely could be better, but, we got Dolak waiting in the wings. And in a perfect world, in my opinion, I'd like to see Spates and Dolak kind of rotate a little bit. keep them both fresh and see what if one of them can provide more of a spark. I think we saw Dolex got it in him. So, yeah, it'd be fun to see.
Now, the cornerback group, Farbod, I'll let you kick off the cornerback group discussion. Probably the one that, is probably the most difficult to assess, perhaps. How you feel about our cornerbacks at this point?
Yeah, I mean, Akello probably like a C or C plus. And I'll give them the C plus just because they looked pretty good, I guess, against the Jags last week. But with Akello, I would bump it up to like a B minus, just because, man, we really, really, really now know what Akello means to this DB room. And without him, there's really no one that can replicate his type of production and type of play. And so I just actually saw this morning that a report came out that from, I think it was Diana Rossini, who said that the Rams are actively shopping for a cornerback, if you guys didn't see that. So I'm now even more expecting there to be a trade upgrade this room, because we could definitely use it, I think. Even with how good they looked last week, I think there's still – because we didn't go against an A.J. Brown, for example, that's just going to body everyone. Imagine if we had Akello against the Eagles. What would that game, that second half, had looked like? Would it have looked like that? I don't know. It's tough to know. But, yeah, so that for that reason, probably like a C.
How about you, Scott?
I gave him a B. For the fact that they stuck with this lineup, even with Witherspoon out and the way this defense has performed. I've seen, during games, people on social media just trashing our cornerbacks, and I just can't get behind that. It's like, come on, the Rams are still a top 10 defense scoring wise and yards wise. And it's like, yeah, a couple of games they gave up some yardage. But come on, look at the Eagles. I mean, they invested first-round picks in Quinyon Mitchell and the kid from Iowa.
Cooper DeJean.
They're both first-round picks. And look at their defense. Their defense isn't rated as high as ours.
Yeah.
And our cornerbacks are nowhere near the quality level as theirs. So I in my opinion, I think the Rams cornerbacks are playing better than what people give them credit for in comparison, with a little bit of reference involved compared to other teams.
Yeah, the way I look at it is, and I could be wrong on this, but they're cruising along with Akello. They're playing pretty well. The cornerbacks are. They lose their CB1, a bigger cornerback as well. And now they got to adjust. Now they got to flex. Now they got to figure it out, the players and the coaches. And I think there was a dip there. That first half against the 49ers was really frustrating. And then maybe they're starting to figure it out. Darius Williams, his play has really improved over the last two games. I give them a B minus. I still think I'm still concerned that if they go up against a team with a really good wide receiver group, they're going to struggle. But I think one thing to keep an eye on, the trading deadline is November 4th, and I was thinking about what you brought up for Bode and Snead, the cornerback with the Saints. They're our next opponent, and if he sits out the second half, that may be a clue as to what's going on. The following day, they could make a move for him. He's one guy that would be a great fit, I think. Pretty expensive though. But the Rams will probably go for a lower level, not necessarily a elite cornerback, but I don't know.
You did it before with Ramsey.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I just hope hopefully it doesn't involve one of those first round picks, but we'll see. But the Rams definitely are on track for a potential Super Bowl appearance. I'm not saying, they're in the mix, they're in the conversation. And if there's a chink in their armor, it remains the cornerback group. I don't disagree with you, Scott. They have been playing fairly well overall, but I'd still be concerned in the playoffs. It could be a vulnerability. That's all I'm saying.
That I completely agree.
Yeah. So it's the safety group. Are we? You got the starters, Kinchin and Curl. I think are playing really well. Let's include Quentin Lake and Jalen McCullough in this conversation, I guess. I know those guys are deployed in a lot of different ways. Scott, what's your assessment of the safeties at this point?
First of all, I do consider Quentin Lake, even though he plays in the slot a lot, I do consider him a safety.
Fair enough.
And I give them an A. I think between Kitchens and Curl has definitely stepped up his game. Up to this point, he used to only really be a good tackler, and he was below average, sometimes a liability in pass coverage. But his pass coverage is really, he's picked up his game there. Kitchens is solid in both run support and pass coverage, and Quentin Lake he's playing like an all-pro the last few weeks. So I definitely give them an A.
And Jalen McCullough is a pretty exciting player. We forget about him, and then he comes in and plays. I don't know what you call it, where it's a passing down, and he's basically lined up like a middle linebacker, and does blitzes on occasion. He's an exciting player. How about you, Farbod? What's your grade on our safeties?
I'll give him an A too. Exactly. They've done great between the pass, the run, and I'm so happy for Captain Q, because this is a contract year, and he's showing that it is. I think he's giving it really all he's got. He's got a sack now. He's got a nice pick, and between Cam Kitchens, Cam Curl, they're both playing definitely great. So there's definitely there's always room for improvement, but they're definitely doing great. And it's just nice that we have these players that give Shula the creative ability to send these safety blitzes. Because, man, I love a safety blitz. Because if it doesn't get there, it sure as hell almost gets there more times than not. And that's a pressure right there. So more of that, Shula, please.
Farbod, do you want to kick off the I'll agree with your grades there on the safety groups. It's an A. Special teams, Farbod, do you want to kick that off? And
here we go.
Save the best for last, right?
Well, second to last, but yeah. D-. Shoot. I mean, wow. Will Chase Blackburn still have his job at the end of the year? That's the biggest question I think we should ask. But it looks like we got it figured out for now. I think as long as we don't lose any monumental keys to that blocking formation, we seemingly seem to be good so far. There weren't any blocks last game. Hey, that's great. There also weren't any field goal attempts, but a PAT attempt is more or less a field goal attempt these days when they moved it back. So, yeah, there's let's see. As of now, just based off what we've had to deal with so far in the season, I'll give them a D.
How about you, Scott? I'm a little bit more optimistic. I'll give punting and kickoffs, I'll give them an A. Kicking, as far as kicking extra points and field goals, I'll give it a C. And I think half of that grade, I think, has to go to coaching and the people they decided to put on that line that didn't do well in protecting the kicker. So I'm pretty confident with cards. I think kickers are going to they're going to have their ebbs and flows through a season. And I think Hardy went through his low point, and I think he should hopefully stay consistent like he was last season. So.
Yeah, I think the problem with the assessment with Cardi is it's that the failures have been at excruciating points. If he had missed a 37-yarder in the fourth quarter against the Jags, we wouldn't have even noticed, right? But the kickoffs, something I think the Rams have been very innovative and creative and effective on their kickoffs. And I think the coverage teams and the return teams have just been okay. I think we've been saved on the coverage teams a couple of times by penalties that really didn't impact the play that could have been game-changing returns against us. I know at least one. I think there were two. Now, the coaching, I think for the most part, I mean, there's obviously, we can find errors in McVay's ways here and there, red zone offense, and Chris Shula, the approach against the 49ers in the first half there. But overall, this is one of the best coach teams in the league. And, we sit here watching every play all season long, and we're screaming and yelling at at McVay and Shula and Chase Blackburn. But overall, I still think we have one of the best stats in the league, and I'm going to give them an A. How do you feel about it, Scott? You going to ding them in any particular area, bring this grade down?
Oh, for the special teams?
Oh, I skipped special. Oh, did I skip you on special teams? I was talking coaching overall, but
Oh, you got to. I understand now. You're talking about coaching overall.
right.
An A. Yeah, considering the success of the team and I think how they've improved over last season, there's still some inconsistencies to overcome, but I would have to agree an A compared to, in reference to the rest of the league, definitely an A.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Farbod, how do you feel about coaching? You gonna roll with an A as well, or
Okay, I'm all right. All right, I'm gonna go A minus, and I'll tell you why. It just still really stings that 4th and short call against the Niners. I'm sorry, guys. I just still can't get over it. That's a brutal, brutal play call and a brutal result that we lost on against the Niners. So yeah, and then of course playing off the DBs like you mentioned, Mark. So but yeah, A minus, not so bad, huh?
yeah, and again, they've had failures at excruciating moments, and
Yeah.
that play call, the end of the game, Kyron's fumble. You know, I hate to bring it up because it just makes it more painful, but that we could very well have been the number 1 seed, except for that. We could have very well had a bye in the playoffs, and that sequence there at the end of the game, those failures at the end of the game
Mhm.
against 49ers could be the deciding factor that makes it not impossible, but very unlikely that we're going to finish at the top of the conference. But hey, maybe we shall overcome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So let's talk about midseason awards. And, let me start by saying I got MVP listed at the bottom here, and you guys could go any direction you want. But I just, as I was putting this together, I thought about it. And, there's a lot of players that are having, career years and guys that are really stepping up and playing incredible. But there's only one player on this team that we could, if we lost this player, we would not be sitting here at 5-2, right? In all seriousness, and that's Matthew Stafford. So
Agreed.
I mean, maybe Jimmy G could have came in and got it done for us, but uh,
Maybe.
Matthew Stafford's my MVP. So let's start there. Scott, who's your MVP here at the not quite midpoint of the season?
I'd agree. Yeah, without Stafford, yeah, this team would not be 5-2 at this point.
Yeah. Farbod, you in agreement there?
Absolutely. It's Stafford 1,000% of the way. He is the leader. He, as McVay has said, he has absolutely total command of this offense, and it shows. Nobody but Stafford. Let's go.
Okay. Offensive player of the year. Now you could go with Stafford. I'm going to go a different direction though, just to make it a little juicier. Who's your offensive player of the year so far, Scott?
I didn't do the MVP, so my offensive player would be Stafford. And I wanted to give a shout out to Coleman Shelton because I think when you analyze how consistent the offensive play has been, I think you have to look at the stability that he brought when they replaced Bo Limiter with him. The offensive line is playing way more consistently better than they were last year. They're scoring more points. I think they're blocking as well in the running game as they did last year, maybe even better. Even though it's not showing up, like we didn't run the ball much against the Jaguars, but I think Coleman Shelton is the unsung hero of the offense.
How about you? That's interesting. Coleman Shelton is a guy that I guess I got to go look at more tape because it's really difficult during a game. I get so pumped up and involved that to focus on, Coleman Shelton and the interior offensive lineman. But I'll take your word for it. That's good insight. How about you, Farbod? You had Stafford as your MVP. Who is your offensive player of the year so far?
I feel like there's low-hanging fruit here. I'm just going to nab it. Puka, man. I'm going to go Puka. Before his injury especially, he was going to have a record year. He still could, don't get me wrong. It's not impossible. But, I would even though he doesn't have the biggest stats in the season, would Puka be having this type of year if Devontae wasn't on the team? Because we see time and time, week after week, Devontae's getting that number one cornerback on him, following him. That leaves Puka open. So, I want to also give a little shout out to Devontae because his effect is shown on the field, even if he's not getting the target.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was watching a podcast or a YouTube video popped up on my feed, and it was Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman, and they were talking about Puka, and they said he's the best wide receiver in the game right now, and they compared him to Julian Edelman, saying he is just a football player. He does everything and anything, and so I'm going to go with Puka. I hopefully they back off on his usage a little bit, but he's my offensive player of the year so far. So defensive player of the year, this gets a little tricky. There's a few candidates here. I think there's going to be one. I'm guessing you guys are going to roll with Farbod. Who's your defensive player of the year so far?
I think it's just got to be Landman. I think it's a close call for me, at least, between Landman and maybe a Byron Young who's having a career year. But what a difference it shows. It's just the upgrade. It's just the upgrade from the linebackers we had last year to this year. Landman, I mean, again, I've said this before. It's just so shocking. It's incredible to see a guy walk in the door saying hello to everyone, meeting people for the first time, and becoming the team captain that same year. That says a lot right there. And it just the command he has on the field, it shows. And the plays he makes, I'm going to go with Landman for sure.
How about you, Scott?
Yeah, I'd say just because of Byron Young's production, I would have to give him the nod as top dog on the defense. But I'm going to give a strong second to both Lake and Landman, with both of those guys being captains, with Landman making the defensive calls on every play from what Shula calls into the helmet. But then again, Quentin, I don't know if you noticed, but he communicates a lot with the DBs and is making sure that all the guys get the calls. And I think that's a huge deal as to how well the secondary is playing. I think he's the main cog that's responsible for how well the secondary is playing.
Yeah, I went with Byron Young just for the productivity, and it's a little unfair to some of the other position groups because these sacks and quarterback pressures they just have more impact on the fans, and I'm a fan, so I went with Byron Young. But Landman, Quentin Lake, even Jared Verse, despite slightly lower production than Byron Young, I think he's having a really good year.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, rookie of the year, and let me go back to. I'll bring up this rookie draft picks. The rookies. There's a list there: Ferguson, Stewart, Hunter, Hamilton, Paul, and Mumpfield. Scott, who is your defensive rookie of the year so far?
For the Rams, I'd go with Josiah Stewart. I think for the little number of snaps, he's had the most impact of any of the rookies.
Yeah. How about you, Farbod?
I mean, I'll use that same argument, Scott, but I would use it for Terrence Ferguson. I think he's had maybe arguably even less play time than Josiah, but he's had just as great production with that huge catch he had, not the touchdown one, the other one contested, and then the touchdown one. So I mean, that was a big third down we needed to convert at that play. So I'm going to go with Fergie. I like my Fergie.
Yeah, I'm going to be the tiebreaker here. I went with Josiah Stewart as well. I see where you're coming from, though, Farbod. And
either one, they're both great.
Yeah, right. Now down the road, who's going to? I would expect Terrence Ferguson. A year from now will probably be the better player, the more impactful player. But so far, right now, I'll go with Josiah Stewart. But it's between those two for sure.
Yeah.
Now let me kick off the most improved player, and I was thinking about this, and I'm probably going to forget somebody. I didn't formulate my answer until about 60 seconds ago. So I haven't given this a lot of thought, and I'm maybe overlooking someone, but I'm going to go with Kobe Durant. And Kobe Durant has always been a quietly very solid cornerback. Doesn't get, basically usually a CB3. Um, but he's always been pretty good. I thought he's always, he's made a couple big plays over the years, a couple of really big splash plays. And I think he's really stepped up his game, especially since Witherspoon went down. He's a really good player at this point, and I don't think it's a massive improvement from last year to this year, but I think it's more about just him getting more opportunities and proving that he is. I don't know if I call him. He's certainly not a shutdown corner, but he's pretty darn good. You guys have Farbod. Do you have someone else in mind for the most improved player?
Yeah, I'm pretty torn between Captain Q and Warren McClendon, but I would think I'm going to lean a little bit more towards Warren McClendon. And I'll tell you why. Because prior to this season, or I'd say even prior to these last few games, I wasn't 100% sold that McClendon could be Havenstein's replacement. Now I am. Now I think he has played up to enough consistently that he can be the guy at right tackle going forward. There was never a question of that for Captain Q. I always thought he was capable of starting in this defense, and I wanted him to. Even though, yes, he has definitely improved. This is his best season with us by far, I'd say. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Warren McClendon for those reasons, yeah.
Fair enough. And Scott, who's your most improved player?
It's a hard one. I see what you say about Durant. I just see him making similar plays, outstanding plays like that interception he had in week 1, which was, I still think that interception that he took away from that Texan wide receiver on the sideline is got to be in one of the NFL highlights of this season.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Quentin Lake's improvement, and people may not see it, but I see Blake Corum's explosiveness and his much, much higher yards average per run. I think is much larger than his, even though he didn't run the ball as a rookie. Those two tend to stick out in my mind.
It's funny you mentioned Blake Corum. I was listening to, on occasion, I'm in the car and that Colin Cowherd sweet spot, and I'll listen to him and his partner. And they talk about the Rams a lot because they are in LA now, Colin Cowherd's show. And I think he likes the Rams and I think he likes McVay. And they were talking about how disappointed they are in Blake Corum. And I was like, wait a second. You're just looking at the number of carries and his stats. He passes the eye test for me. He really does. He just needs more opportunities. So I was really surprised to hear that. Okay, man, we're at the hour mark and the UCLA Bruins are taking the field. Hopefully we can wrap this up here for you, Scott, pretty quick. I just wanted to talk real quickly about, did we talk about the best free agent signing? I'm sorry, let's talk about the best free agent signing real quick. And it really comes down to 3, I think, Poona Ford, Devontae Adams, and Nate Landman, or that name popping up here. I think we're going to have a consensus. Scott, who's your best free agent signing at this point?
Oh, I'd have to say of those 3, I think Landman has made the biggest impact. I think his punch outs have really, I think that turned around and decided the game for us against one of the opponents, I think.
Right. And I left out Coleman Shelton, who's a guy you love. So maybe we should consider Coleman Shelton as well.
Yeah, I think he just brings consistency, but I think Landman, I mean, you can actually pick one play he did that really turned the game.
Right.
That's kind of what I'm looking for with this. And I'd have to go with Landman, some of his single punch outs and turning the ball over. I mean, really much saved one of those games for us earlier in the season.
Yeah, I go with Landman too. I just think that it's such a culture fit too, a team leader. You just see it, the vibe, and I know a lot of people maybe don't consider that as much as I do, but I think that's a big part of guys like Nate Landman and Quentin Lake and the type of people they are, just such a great fit for this team.
Yeah.
So Farbod, I'm going to guess you're going to go with Landman here as well.
Yeah, but it's very close, Mark, because between him, don't forget Puna Ford. We needed that run defense. If not
Yeah.
for him, would our run defense look anywhere near what it looks like now? He is a big reason for that, Puna Ford. So there's an argument there for him. Without Devontae, would Puka be having the year he had? Did we have anyone else capable of getting 3 touchdowns against the Jaguars? So I could go maybe Devontae. But it's simply because of the massive void we had at the inside linebacker position the past few years that I'm going to go with Landman, just because of how refreshing it is seeing that there. So I'll go with that. Sure.
I think what this question just revealed to us, the answers is, the Rams have kind of struggled in free agent signings over the years, but they did a really good job this past offseason.
Oh, yeah.
There's 4 guys, Shelton, Devontae Adams, Landman, and Puna Ford, that are just really good fits for this team. And, kudos to Les Snead and his staff for bringing in the right guys. They finally got it right as far as free agency goes. So I wanted to talk real quickly about 2026 unrestricted free agents. There's that name again, Nate Landman.
Mm-hmm.
Rams have some work to do here. I think Landman and Durant are guys that are going to want to bring back. Akilla Witherspoon, I would assume so, but if they make a move, bring in a cornerback on the trade market, maybe not. Quentin Lake, such an important part of this defense, this team, but the Rams don't have a history of paying safeties. Same with Cam Curl. And then Tyler Higbee and Rob Havenstein. I think just maybe we have the replacements in the house. So you're not going to bring them back at the money that they're used to getting. I don't know. Did I miss anything, Farbod, as far as assessment of these 2026 unrestricted free agents?
No, I think you're spot on with everything. I don't know, guys. I'm just not as high on Kobe Durant as you guys are, which is fair. I still root for him. But if we were to trade for a cornerback that could arguably be our best corner on the team, I do think Akello is currently our best cornerback. So I would see Durant as more expendable at that point. So yeah, as I agree with everything else, though. I do think that we should keep Landman, especially Landman, Akello, Quinton, and Cam Curl, even though, that we seem to just have a knack for drafting safeties. We draft a safety, they're fits. So
yeah, right.
I could see us just drafting another one next year and letting someone walk, like a Cam Curl. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did that. I hope we keep them, but it depends where the money is, of course. But we're just so good at drafting safeties, even when they're undrafted. Look at McCullough.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're going to have some decisions to make for sure. Scott, did we miss anything?
No, I think, again, with safeties, I think they may try to keep Quentin Lake on a lower deal, a lower contract value. I think Curl probably walks at the end of the year. Witherspoon, last 2 seasons, they brought him in at the last minute. Even though he did get the off season this season, and due to his age, he's going to be another year older. He's on the wrong side of 30. I think there's better than 50% chance he's not back with the Rams, unless another team doesn't want him and he comes in on the veteran minimum. That's the only way I see they bring him back next season. So
and Nate Landman's an interesting, a guy that comes in pretty much an unknown and has established himself as a valid answer at the middle linebacker position. Does he get a better offer now, or does he just love it here in LA and he returns?
We're not letting him leave, Mark. No,
I hope not.
The tour. I hope not. But I think with Akello too, it's going to depend how he looks coming back from this injury. Because if he goes on to finish this season in this playoff run, we're going to go on and looks like the best cornerback on our team, heads, big time, then do we at that point still let him walk, even though he's on the wrong side of 30? If he's still producing at a high level, the highest on our team, I could see us bringing him back too. But yeah, it's gonna boil down to that, in my opinion. We'll see.
Yeah, some decisions, and talk about decisions, and we won't get into this in depth, but in 2027, all what I have shown here on the on the YouTube channel on the graphic here is these draft picks that will all these guys on their rookie contracts. They'll be free agents in 2027. Steve Avila, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Stetson Bennett, Nick Hampton, Warren McClendon, Davis Allen, Puka Nakua, Ethan Evans, and Deshaun Johnson. Man, and you talk about teams playing, thriving because they got a quarterback playing on a rookie contract. The Rams have, I think they got about 14 guys other than the quarterback playing on rookie contracts, and it's just a testament to how well they've drafted. But they're not going to be able to keep everybody. Maybe an easy question to answer, maybe not. Farbod, if you were to pick 3 guys from this list that the Rams have to bring back, who would they be?
Well, I'm gonna start with Puka naturally.
Okay.
Puka, I'll go. It's so hard to just pick 3, Mark. Oh man, you're killing me here.
Well, how about 4?
That helps a little, but I want to go 5. But because I'm looking at Puka, I'm looking at Kobe Turner, Byron Young, Avila, and I'm looking at Ethan Evans. And in a perfect world, I'd love to keep all of those guys, man. And then now look at Warren McClendon. Now he's the guy at right tackle. So you're killing me here.
But these are the types of decisions they're going to have to make. Now, in fairness, it probably won't be difficult to bring guys like Nick Hampton and Ethan Evans back. I would think maybe even Deshaun Johnson, Davis Allen. If he wants to come back, they'll have him, I'm sure. So it really gets down to the 3 or 4 you started to mention, I think.
We're about to have a lot of cap room too, Mark, with all the dead money finally getting off the books from the Aaron Donald deal. I think next season it's finally all done, if I'm not mistaken. Right. And we're about to have massive amounts of cap space. My hope is that we don't wait until 27 to re-sign the ones we want here, that we at least knock out a few early so we can kind of stagger these cap hits ideally.
Yeah. Well, let me help you out here. I'll tell you how I would go. I would highlight. I would put the emphasis on bringing back Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Warren McClendon, and Puka Nakua. The guy I left off is Avila, interior offensive lineman, and something funny was going on with him the last couple of weeks where he wasn't. Justin Diedish was playing ahead of him. He's still a decent guard, but that's what I'm thinking. And the other guys, if they want to come back, Ethan Evans, Deshaun Johnson, Davis Allen, Nick Hampton, Stetson Bennett, obviously, I don't want to say no great loss, but guys that are replaceable. Does that help you, Farbod?
I guess I agree, but man, I do feel like there's a difference when Avila's out there. Even though Diedish looked respectable, I think Avila is a good enough upgrade where I would like to keep him if possible. He just provides extra oomph to the old.
To me, it's between Avila and McClendon. If they see McClendon as a Havenstein replacement, maybe they don't. Maybe they feel like they still need an upgrade there.
Maybe.
How about you, Scott? How you feeling about it?
First of all, I think heading into 2027, I think there's only one other team that's going to have more cap space than the Rams as of today. So I think they'll probably between now and the end of next season in 26, I'm sure they will have 2 of the big ones here extended before then, before the 27 season. So they, like Farbod said, they'll probably stagger some of them. And on offense, I do think Puka and Avila are the 2 most important. McClendon's playing great. I don't see him as the future right tackle myself, but that's just my opinion. On defense, I think Kobe Turner, I think he should be a lifelong Ram, and same with Byron. I think all the other guys can be kept on smaller deals, and hope that they like the atmosphere and McVay's system to stay under smaller deals.
Okay. Main point here, I just wanted to highlight what good shape they're in as far as young players, but in 2026, 2027, going to have some really tough decisions to make perhaps. But you said, like you say, so I'll recap. And the salary cap increases every year as well. So maybe they're not in as bad a shape as I might be thinking. So I wanted to real quickly just talk about the Seattle Rams. I just this crossed my mind and I threw this up here. It's kind of interesting. We got four ex-Rams up there. And Darion Kendrick, I think, started out making an impact there, but he's listed on their depth chart as their third string nickel back. Cooper Kupp's having a decent year, but probably not earning that salary entirely, I don't think. Ernest Jones, solid middle linebacker, and then Poop Paul's on the practice squad. No particular reason I included that. I just thought it would be a fun ad here. But I wanted to go on to here, wrap things up with, I did a little thing on the pod the other day, path to the playoffs. I don't know if you guys caught it. And I tried to take basically my approach, what I was intending to do was demonstrate how the Rams could get to the playoffs, without necessarily getting to 13 wins. And I had them finishing 11-6. And currently they're 5-2, the remaining games, the Saints, at the Niners, the Seahawks, the Bucks, at the Panthers, at the Cardinals, the Lions, and then at the Seahawks, and then at the Falcons, wrap things up with the Cardinals. So they got some tough games left. The two games of the Seahawks are looking difficult. At the 49ers, that's certainly going to be a really competitive game. And then the Lions and Bucks, two really good football teams. So, if you had to make a prediction right now, Scott, where do you see the Rams finishing record-wise?
I think if they play very good football near the end of the season, like they have been the last couple seasons. I think they can go. I think they can go 12-5. I just don't know if that's going to be good enough to win. The 49ers have such an easy schedule. I think they're going to have to definitely beat the 49ers on their turf and completely outplay them, which is going to be difficult the rest of the season. So I could see them being a wild card at 12-5.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I had them, like I said, I had 11-6, and I was trying to be conservative in my predictions. Farbod's going to go 15-2, I assume.
What? I'm going undefeated. What are you talking about? I'm kidding. Well, yeah, you had 6 losses, Mark, if I remember, because you said we're going to split one with the Seahawks.
Right.
So that's very thoughtful of you to think that for the Seahawks' sake, but no, we're going to dominate them twice. Let's go. No, I agree with Scott. I think worst case it'll be 12-5. In a perfect world, though, yeah, we'll maybe be 13-4 instead. But time will tell. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised so much just because of how well the NFC West looks in general between us, the Niners, and the Seahawks. Yeah, the wild card spot's probably in our horizon unless something drastic happens with the Niners dropping a few of games they should win. And, hey, if we could beat them in their turf, that'd be something. Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, I think the key is to win the games we're supposed to win. We need to beat the Saints. We need to beat the Panthers and sweep the Cardinals. That needs to happen.
Hopefully.
To facilitate a 12 or 13 win season, in my opinion. But so I took a little heat on the YouTube channel for my prediction, and fair enough. I'm trying. I could have easily gone, 13-4. Sure. But I just know how these games with the Seahawks are always tough. They're always nail biters, and they're playing really good football right now. But they've had a couple of duds as well. So yeah, maybe you're right. And I can't wait to see that midnight mode game against the Seahawks. That's going to be quite a look. I know a lot of folks are not thrilled with that uniform, but I think it'll be kind of neat.
Be a fun change.
So, any final thoughts, man? This is a long segment. We got to get back to this UCLA Indiana game. It's not starting out well, unfortunately.
Uh-oh.
But it's hold on here a second. Let me get this off the stage here. Any final thoughts, guys, on how you feeling about the Rams season overall so far? And if you could wrap it up in one sentence or two. Farbod?
Should be undefeated. Unfortunately not, but the future is more exciting than ever after the last game, given the fact how well we spread the ball, the 13 personnel thrown in the mix. So I'm as excited as ever for this season. Absolutely. What's coming up.
How about you, Scott?
Yeah, pleasantly optimistic. There was some woulda, coulda, shouldas in the first part of the season, but not too many injuries. And if they keep playing, if they peak at the end of the season like they have been the last couple of seasons, I think they're going back to the playoffs. And if we could just get the 49ers to lose a game and we could take the division, that would be optimum.
Yeah, I guess it would start with beating them up there in Santa Clara.
Yeah.
My thoughts on this, I was really impressed. I mean, we were also disappointed with that loss to the 49ers. Again, we should have won. But I know this team was devastated. You could kind of read it, the body language and what was coming out of the locker room and such. But the way they bounced back really impressed me. And I think they got their head on straight now. And maybe another blessing in disguise, they realize, that stuff happens, and you got to overcome, you got to figure it out, and you got to clean it up. And it's a good time. It's a good time for that to happen. Perhaps a good time for Cardi to have the struggles, a good time to have bad things happen, and a young team just come together and bounce back with 2 straight wins. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Okay, guys, we'll talk again next week, next Saturday, if you're available. We'll get into the Rams Saints, and the fun starts again.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot for joining, guys.
Go Rams.
Go Rams.
Okay, out here.